Hey, welcome to the next episode of the podcast. Glad you joined us. Make sure to subscribe and also leave comments. Each week we'll put up new shows. If you're a new subscriber, check out all the past episodes as well to catch up. But we look forward to continue talking and hope you enjoy what we're hearing at this point. Let's switch gears here and let's talk about the championship games that happened over the weekend. I just want to point out, I've come to realize my predictions generally are off, which is fine. So, especially this year. I thought the Saints would win. Clearly they didn't.
Okay.
The Bills, I took a chance, thought they could do well. They couldn't.
I actually thought the Browns did better than they did overall.
Yeah. Browns surprised. I agree.
Mahomes went out was something, but I think that, our offense was actually doing so, it was.
You had a chance. That's what mattered.
The game at the end. The Bills did. I mean, the Bills never looked like they were. I don't know. I mean, with their receiving core, with Diggs didn't do anything. Did you see Diggs after the game?
What he said after the game?
After the game, over. He was staying to watch the trophy ceremony for the Chiefs to piss him off, to motivate him for next year.
Shouldn't need that.
I agree.
So, but the one that surprised me the most was Green Bay losing. Like, Green Bay losing to Tampa made no sense to me.
I agree.
First off, Tom Brady was just like horrible. He was 3 for 3, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So he was consistent there. And yet the whole second half, I don't know what the Packers were doing. Each time they got a turnover, they'd go right to just pass. I swear to God, it's like watching the Super Bowl again with the Niners. They got away from the run game. The run game was working for them. They didn't even try it. They just went straight to passing for 2 consecutive 3-and-outs. And it's like, dude, you're blowing chances to take the lead and push this thing over. And I don't know
about that. Who's going to want to go step away from the run game? At some point, it was going to happen. The Browns did.
But they didn't need to. That was the thing. They didn't need to.
They didn't need to.
And they didn't execute, Mike.
But it goes back, it's when coaching, when you get into the playoffs, people always say all bets are off or whatever. But I think that's just when you see the well-coached teams just do it.
Well-organized team, yeah.
I mean, you saw it with Matt. What's his name? Yeah, Matt LaFleur is the Green Bay coach, right?
Yep.
Kick the fucking field goal. You have fucking Aaron Rodgers, and you can't get it in the end zone. But to your point, 3 straight passing attempts, and they look like they were just waiting for the pass. Not to say that the run would have got a touchdown, but one of those could have got the ball there closer to the end zone. Making it a little bit easier instead of it being. Well, I think they were like that one where they kicked the field goal. They were on the 6 or 7.
Yeah, they could have gone, but it would have been 4th and goal. They'd already blown it a couple. So the catch was part of the problem was the receivers for Green Bay just couldn't catch a fucking ball hitting them square in the hands.
Devontae Adams wasn't doing well either.
Yeah, so it was surprising to see. Again, it wasn't so much Tampa Bay winning as much as Green Bay losing it in this game. Because literally Tom Brady, the defense of Green Bay was doing well enough for it. Well, and Tom Brady was floating balls, so I don't know what the hell is going on out there. But he went. It was funny. I saw some meme or something saying Jameis Winston must be smiling because he was given all this shit last year when he was the quarterback at Tampa Bay because he threw like 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. People were like, you can't get anywhere. Well, here you go. You got Tom Brady. He's throwing 3 picks and 3 touchdowns in a championship game. And yet they still somehow win because Green Bay just decides not to run their offense the way they have. I don't get it. And these young coaches tend to get it. Sometimes maybe that's why they become such head coaches because their flair for the dramatic, they're willing to take chances and push things more. So getting creative, they get over creative and then they suddenly lose their focus. And that's why they're great offensive coordinators, but maybe it's not so much as a head coach. If you don't know why, as a head coach, I should be saying to my offensive coordinator, what are you doing? Get back to what works, focus on what we were doing the first half and stick with that. And that's not what they did. So, but what was even more interesting after the game was they talked to Aaron Rodgers, and maybe it was after the game or the day after. He's talking about, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next year. He's basically making it sound like he's not sure if the organization will keep him. All this just sounds like horseshit, clearly, because first off, if the Green Bay Packers traded Aaron Rodgers, they just, they wouldn't win a game again because they would just be shit. But he's making it sound like either he's not happy there or he just, he still was never happy they drafted a quarterback in the first round in this last draft. Instead of getting him help at a receiver, to help him out, something better for him. So it seems like there's some bitterness going. So that'll be interesting to watch. And then Deshaun Watson asked for a trade from the Texans. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I think to your point with the whole Aaron Rodgers things, it's like, it's not saying that he doesn't choke, but I've never seen him take over a game in the playoffs. I don't think people want to like point to him choking or all these stats. People always like to cherry pick numbers. Like they want to say that Aaron Rodgers sucks. So what do? They go through all the stats and they find the ones that help prove their point. Most people do that anyway.
Anybody can do that with data.
Stats don't drive your thinking. It's the other way around. They cherry pick these 6 things about what he's done in there, and it's like, look, no doubt that I don't think he's ever really stepped up to do it, but there are a lot of times like when Green Bay lost to the Seahawks. Remember that one where they were up by 2 touchdowns and to no fault of his own, they recover the onside kick and all that crap happens and Seattle ends up winning. That seems to be kind of almost like New Orleans, where they just, you can't blame Drew Brees for, their defense letting Diggs get that touchdown, the miracle in Minneapolis, right? Or, a lot of these other things that have happened to him, or the pass interference no call. So, in a vacuum, people want to say it, but I also just have to say that he's never really taken over that game. And actually, you can also say that it should never be that close, right? When you're that type of player. But yeah, but getting rid of him at this point, look, being a Browns fan, we have people saying that, oh, maybe we should, try to, trade Mayfield for Watson. And at a certain point, it's like, kind of be happy with what you have. You don't always need to have, look, people compare quarterbacks to Mahomes, right? At this point. And it's like,
well, some quarterbacks, not all, but yes.
Yeah, I know. But people always act like, oh, they're not Mahomes. It's like, dude, Mahomes is amazing. He also has an amazing offense. And you have, to your point, Andy Reid, he goes for it. He doesn't get fancy. He just sticks to what works. If it's working, he sticks to it. He doesn't just go to the passing game. He does what he needs to do, where a lot of the coaches don't do that. But yeah, I don't know. Trading to Rodgers would just be, at this point, with the way that he played this year, would be moronic. It's one of those things. Careful what you ask for, with Green Bay fans.
Yep, I agree.
So what do you guys think? Who's going to take it?
I think Kansas City.
A smart play would be Kansas City, but in these playoffs, who knows? If Mahomes gets hurt, then Tampa Bay can pull it off. Tampa Bay's got a good defense.
I was just going to ask, who do you think's defense could be better in pass rushing, defending against the run?
See, the thing is, Kansas City's run defense isn't good. They're pretty bad, actually. And that was like one of the issues that we had in our game against them, was that we had a 3rd string left tackle playing. So you can see that some of the runs just were getting blown up.
Yeah.
So we really couldn't rely on the run, even though personal opinion is I think we should have just pressed it more, just to wear them down and do that type of stuff. But yeah, I think that I think a lot of it is going to come down to Tom Brady, to be honest. Mahomes is who he is. If he's hurt, then of course that's a big X factor. But I think, if with Tom Brady, the way that he's also been playing and distributing it, if he doesn't turn the ball over, which I just don't see him doing it 2 games in a row, that type of behavior. Yeah. That I think Tampa Bay can win. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay wins. I just can't bet against Kansas City. Mahomes,
right? It would be Kansas City.
Yeah. I think because Andy Reid is Bruce Arians, I've never been sold on as head coach. I think he's a little too arrogant and a little too he's just one of those coaches that I just don't know if he how well that they can adapt. Andy Reid, I think, is a smarter, more even-keeled coach. And Mahomes, I think what makes a great quarterback, goes to, Joe Montana. What was his nickname? Joe Cool, right? It's because while everybody else is panicking, they just play the same game. I don't think that they do anything different. I think it's just that when you get to be there,
Well,
anyway,
I mean, but you're right. But you're right, though. I mean, Tom Brady's been there quite.
yeah,
He's been there a lot of times. So that's the hard thing that I'm going to have trouble with too, right? And I think I'm putting all the factors into play. Like that's why I was asking, like, who do you think, out of who has the best run defense, who has the better running offense, right? And then if it comes down to quarterback, right? Whose experience is going to outshine the other one, right? Younger versus youth versus age, right? Experience versus least amount, right? You're in this turmoil where you're right. The smart bet should be Kansas City, but it's like we know it's Tom Brady going into the championship again, so it's like we've seen a couple of miracles,
But the thing is, you also look at Mahomes last year. I mean, the NFL, the Super Bowl didn't phase him, and I think that again, I think that's
a lot. That does say a lot, right? They didn't feel the pressure.
Yeah, and that's where your quarterback. I mean, with especially a quarterback, it's like a free throw shooter. It's like with basketball. When guys in practice can hit the free throws, but when they go to the line, they choke. It's because of the pressure. It's that waiting and doing it. And when you see him Mahomes, his game is consistent. And like when you got some, I mean, think about it. They were down, and he didn't panic. They just went to it, and it doesn't hurt when you have. Now they don't really have a good running game. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have the best tight end in the NFL and who's matured into probably one of the best, he's probably top 10 all time at this point. When you have that guy over the middle who somehow gets open, like defenses ignore him because they're worried about Tyreek Hill going over the top with his speed. And when you have those two threats available to you, it's not saying it's easy because it's definitely not. It's the NFL. Yeah. It makes a difference because how many times do you see Tyreek Hill? One of their favorite plays is a shallow post where Tyreek Hill goes up and he runs across the field, and then you're just letting him outrun the whole defense. And I'm not saying that those touchdowns, that Mahomes gets credit for, he shouldn't get credit for, but I mean, it helps when you have a receiver who's grown to be an explosive threat like Tyreek Hill is, but I think Tampa Bay can win. It's hard betting against Kansas City. They just always seem to pull ahead and come out with it. Even if they're down, it'll be interesting. I mean, I do think Tampa Bay can hang with them. It'll really be, I think a lot of it has to do with whether they can run the ball to kind of limit the possessions of Kansas City. And, is Tom Brady going to repeat that? If he turns the ball over more than twice, yes, spooky shit. I think if Tom Brady, if throws like 2 interceptions, then I don't think they have a chance. If they turn the ball over, they can't turn the ball over to Casey. They can't. I think maybe one turnover, if they need to stay at that 0 margin for turnover. If they turn over the ball more than Casey does, I don't think they have a chance. Because Casey's going to score, even with Tampa Bay having good defense, Casey's going to score. And it's going to be hard to keep up with them. Even though I think that the passing game with the receivers that Tampa Bay has, they can't keep up. But I think, turnovers is really going to be a big key.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm actually going to go with Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is going to pull it off.
With the old guy, huh? I agree with the experience. But again, seeing what Mahomes did in the Super Bowl last year, the first time he did it, it didn't faze him. He never looked out of sorts. He didn't look like he was ready to panic. He played his game.
Yeah.
So I think that's the magic of Mahomes.
But it comes down to, right, one of the key factors, like JD's mentioned, like if he's hurt, how will he perform? Right.
If he has that turf toe, which he got in our game, and those are the things that linger.
Yeah.
Because Tampa Bay has a good front four. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that more than the Bills did, and definitely more than the Browns did. that would be a big factor. But yeah, we'll see. If he starts that, of course, that's a variable that always does it. But yeah,
Very true.
but I would take KC. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay pulls it off.
So final pick, you're going with KC. I'm going with Tampa Bay. JD, you're going with?
Going with KC. I'm going to stay on the smarter side in this one.
What do you think are the keys to it, though? What do you think? What do you think needs to happen? Like 3 things need to happen for Tampa Bay to win.
Well, first off, it's impressive. Tampa Bay is the first team to ever play in their home stadium for a Super Bowl.
Yep.
So that's big, right? So that helps at least on the travel. They don't have to travel at all. They're literally at home the whole time. But then again, Kansas City is not traveling till Friday night. There is no media week like in the past where they'd be out there the week before, or the start of the week for the whole media thing and the whole Super Bowl festivities, because that's just not happening this year. But I mean, realistically, the keys for Kansas City to win, well, defensively, just play smart. Don't give up too much on the yardage from a run game. Keep it. Let Tom Brady try and beat you on the pass, right? But be aggressive on your defense, because if you're not aggressive and you're not trying to attack him, if you give him time to just sit there and figure it out, he's going to figure it out. Yeah. Although he tends to float the ball more this year than he has before, so definitely in that last game. And really, it's just Kansas City stick to what they do. There's no reason Tampa Bay can stop Kansas City if they do what they do best, which is protect and pass, the mix-up plays, right? They love to do the fake plays, to change it up, make people think. I think Patrick Mahomes, it was funny, Robert Saleh, the former 49er defensive coordinator who's now the Jets coach, made a comment about Mahomes that you need to don't fall for his trickery. He always does this every once in a while where he looks like he's hurt and this old man running down the field type thing, and then he suddenly breaks off for a run on you the next play. Yeah. So, and he's right. And Mahomes laughed at that because he thought it was funny. But it's kind of true. If you ever watch video, you'll see Mahomes just sometimes do the slight old man jog, like he's in pain, can't really move really well. Then the next play he breaks free for a 10-yard run. Yeah. And it's like he's not hurt. He just, I don't think he's intentionally doing it. I think that's just who he is as a person. But it's funny where it makes it think you're like, oh, we got him now. And then you overcommit and suddenly he's gone. So, I mean, really, it's just, limit. It's the same thing any game is always about. Limit your turnovers, stick to your game plan. I mean, it's all the generic shit. And, so it's really just, if Mahomes can do what he always does and the run game is continues, they'll be fine. I don't see how they would lose. Plus, Andy Reid, I agree with you. Andy Reid's much more accomplished as a coach for the Super Bowl than Bruce Arians. If Arians is saying, I let Tom Brady coach what he wants, that's a problem.
Yeah. That's why I don't like him. I mean, he's done great things, but I just, there's something about his demeanor and the way that, like you said, like that type of comment. Yeah, I mean, it's just, he just comes off to me as somebody who won't do what needs to be done to win. It's like he thinks he's smarter than everybody in the room type thing. And he may be, but at a certain point, some of that thought process and the way that you do things, I think, can bite you in the ass. So,
well, think about it. When he's been successful, it's because he had smart quarterbacks. The year he took over for Pagano in Indianapolis it was because Andrew Luck was his quarterback. And that's why they did well. He can help guide you, but you're right. He tends to lean more on his quarterbacks to make those decisions. Well, that hurts them in the end because you need a coach who knows when to pull, offense coordinator who should be telling you what to do. If you let the quarterback run the whole game, I mean, his arrogance, his overconfidence sometimes in his abilities is always going to outweigh what's the best play to go. And so, experience or not, he wants to prove. This is where I think Brady's going to hurt. He's going to try too hard because he wants to prove he can win a Super Bowl outside of New England, and that's where it's going to hurt. So,